and welcome to this first episode of the C-Suite Alchemist, brought to you by www.mytacfo.com. In this series, we will bring to you conversations with the people sitting in the corner suite, that is the CEOs, the CFOs, CEOs, CTOs, CMOs, etc. Bring with them a vision, an innovation, new ideas on how business can adapt to the ever-changing needs of the universe and of the business world. In the first episode, we speak with Abhijit Umate, CEO of Eco Hotels PLC based in London, UK, who have come up with a carbon neutral hotel concept. Whilst carbon neutrality is not a new concept, applying it specifically to the hospitality industry is the first of its kind. And we will speak with Abhijit about what the product is, what does Eco Hotels offer, and what does it mean for a hotel to be carbon neutral. I'm sure you'll benefit from Abhijit's experience, 25 years in hospitality with Knight Frank, the Compass Group, the Taj Group, the Karma Group, and he's an erudite speaker and erudite writer, and I'm sure you will enjoy the discussion and the chat. Thank you for watching. So, good evening, Abhijit. Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us today for discussing a very, very important subject that I think bothers the whole world, and that is carbon neutrality, global warming. And I think you have come up with a very unique concept, and my congratulations to you, and of course my best wishes on how a hotel can become carbon neutral. And I think while carbon neutrality has been around for some time, the focus on hospitality that is something new, something unique. So would you like to start off by just a short introduction about yourself, your company, and then I'll start asking questions?
So I'll start from Eco Hotels and I'll come to me. So Eco Hotels is, we are the world's first carbon neutral hotel brand of its kind. They are economical and ecological. We want to focus on the mid-market and budget segment. So while we'll be talking a lot more about it, the mid-market and budget segment is extremely important to us, and we will discuss about that. About me, I have been a hospitality professional and worked in operations and consulting in hospitality space for a long time now. I don't want to disclose my age, but I have nearly 30 years of experience in this field. And in fact, way back in 1996, I was associated with one of the world's first eco-friendly hotel projects. That was very much in our own Amchi, Mumbai, the Orchid Hotel.
Yes.
And we did a lot over there. And at that point in time, the market was not really, ready to accept such a product in the way it should be. And it was on the backdrop of Surat Egg and hospitality industry hit. So it was always in my mind that ethos stayed with me. And also our Indian ethos is, we have that Sundar Swastha Tikau kind of a thing. So we want to make things, take the maximum out of them. We are not in that use and throw mentality as yet, thank God, and I hope we never get there. So yeah, that's where we are. It's a very, very our own value system that we are trying to put forward in a more modern context is what we want to do. So we want to have Indian context of hospitality, have all that is essential, do it really well, and do it with the ethos of something leaving a better earth for the future. That's what we are trying to do.
So Abhijit, can you so as a user, whenever I go to a hotel, I really don't worry about global warming, because as a user it doesn't hit me that I'm doing something that's adding to the greenhouse gas emissions and the carbon dioxide that's being thrown into the air. Can you, for the viewers' education and for my education, how much of a carbon footprint does a hotel generally create when it is catering to customers like me and everybody else?
So generally, just from the operations of hotels, okay, from electricity, natural gas, or whatever power sources we are getting our power from, the average mid-market hotel room is around 13 tons a year, the power consumption. The carbon footprint, not power consumption. Okay, the carbon footprint only from operating the hotel. This does not include your travel to the hotel, and then as a visitor you travel your air miles. It does not include the travel of the vendors. It does not include the travel of the staff itself. So, okay, in fact, that is even larger component. So put it in context, like so we worked out typically for for whatever reason, we had the floor plans of a 144 room hotel with BOQs and stuff like that. So let's say it's 150 rooms. So around 700,000 tons is the overall footprint of of operations of a 150 room hotel. At Eco Hotels, we expect to make half of that from our operations itself. So we want to reduce the impact significantly.
So 700,000 tons is a per annum number?
Per annum for the whole hotel, for
Wow.
about 150 rooms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's massive. That's massive. And you're saying that in eco hotels, whatever, and we'll discuss your solutions as we go along. That solution will reduce that carbon footprint to half. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what we want to achieve. Yeah.
Okay. And this largely comes from what sources in a hotel? I mean, what is the largest source of, if I was to pinpoint one big source of carbon emission in a hotel, what would that be?
Basically, power consumption, the source of power itself is one of the major things, and transportation. These are the two main aspects.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's largely the electricity that you consume, which is obviously the air conditioning and the boilers and
Yeah.
the refrigeration
Yeah.
and your laundry and
Yeah.
I see. And in terms of the cost that, and before we go into the details of how do you become carbon neutral, I want to attack a major concern that I have come across whenever we talk to people about being eco-friendly, and that's always the cost that, what is the return on investment? Why should I spend so much money? I mean, as it is, I have a debt, I have a loan, I'm worried about ARRs, I'm worried about RevPARs, I'm worried about F&B cost control, I'm worried about salaries, and now you're telling me to spend more money. So how would you address that? And in India, and especially Indians, Marwadis, Gujaratis, I'm a baniya. The first thing that we do is, boss, bottom line to batao yaar, kharcha kitna kara rahe. So how would you address that question?
So very, very pertinent and relevant question that, so the concept of eco hotels, one step back, is based on the triple P bottom line. Okay. So it is people, planet, and profit. Now, a sustainable business is not only sustainable for the environment. Your balance sheet has to be sustainable. Your cash flow has to be sustainable.
Exactly.
If you start the eco hotels and we don't make a profit and a successful business of it, other people will not get encouraged to open such businesses, right? So one of the social aspect of impact of this business is we hope to make it successful, so more and more people can emulate and know that being eco-friendly can actually be profitable, and the entire business is designed basis that concept. Okay, so yes, there is initially there is some cost apprehensions are there with lots of people, but it's about your thinking and your design thinking. For example, a few years ago, everybody used to use luminous bulbs in hotels, and now everybody switched to LED. The migration took some time, but now India has the cheapest LED bulbs in the world, and they give you much higher lumen for maybe 1/10 of the power consumption or 1/8 or whatever. That technology keeps evolving. So that is one thing. So one is how you design your hotel itself. So with some design thinking, you can reduce a lot of the impact. Secondly is the choice of materials that you use. Now, not all eco-friendly materials might be commercially viable to use today, but having that in your thought process itself, and things keep changing. There are a lot of people who want to launch new products, they want to showcase it. So there are very, very different ways to do things. Like, so for example, instead of using wood, you can use bamboo wood. Okay, in our hotels, in terms of fabric, we're going to use bamboo fabric. Now, bamboo is the grass that grows in 1 to 3 years, depending on what kind of bamboo is being used. Now, if bamboo can be used as timber and as a fabric, and our buffet runners are made from a recycled PET fabric, or the glass or the mirrors, etc., are being made from recycled glass. The metal that we use in our hotel is essentially recycled a lot of times. So these are the different things, these little incremental changes, they tend to add up to a lot. And then we have a real product saying, say, listen, by doing all these things, by planning our thing well in our operations, what we have done is the power consumption by 50%. Secondly, what we have done, we also plan to do wherever we do and wherever the option is available, is to generate some on-site power using solar panels or wind turbines or whatever is permissible and practical. It has to be viable in terms of production. So at least produce some of our own electricity, and the rest of the electricity we will buy from renewable sources. So now it is possible to buy, from the grid, from a source of energy that you prefer.
Yes.
And quite often they might be much cheaper than you think.
Yes.
The third thing, the thing that we really can't control is actually the impact of the travel, because we don't know our guests who's coming from where and what, and our staff we would try to recruit as close as possible. We would like to have our hotels near areas of public transportation, so more and more people use public transport to come to our hotel, so like metro stations or near airports or whatever. And so in the first aspect, where we are talking about the design, where we design systems, we design the power consumption, and also we have smart sensors, etc., to manage through apps the load in the building and the efficiency of the equipment. We expect to reduce the consumption by 50 to 60%. In the second aspect, by producing some power on site, or using see, it all depends. Okay, we also want to use Tesla batteries, but that might be more viable for hotels in UK where the average rate is much higher than India. I might not be able to afford Tesla batteries in India.
Yes.
So there are different power rates available when you are buying in off-peak times, and you store all that electricity and consume it in the day when you want to use it. So it is basically it's like a menu card of services, and we will avail a la carte as the situation kind of presents itself. And the only uncontrollable is where we expect to reduce our impact by about 30% is in the travel aspect. So we are going to, for hotel cars are going to be electric cars. We're going to insist that our employees at least use electric cars or, electric vehicles, and they ideally use public transportation. So that is the aspect where we can control the lease. So whatever we can control.
Sorry for interrupting, but just train of thought that when you do all these things, when I'm a finance professional, so the first thing I look at is the cost per room when I build a hotel. So say in a mid-market segment, in India it could be anywhere between say 35-40 lakhs for an eco hotel to about say 55-60 lakhs for a mid-market, an IB sort of a hotel. For an eco hotel, I saw that you have two brands. One is the eco and one is the eco lodge. Is there if I was not to use you and build a hotel as opposed to using your design, is there a bump up in the cost per room when I set up a new hotel?
See, within our business model, we also have the enterprise build, operate, and transfer model, EBOT. Okay.
I was going to ask you about that. The EBOTTM.
Yeah. So no, it's TM is the trademark part. EBOT is the enterprise build, operate, and transfer model.
Okay.
So I'll just go one step back. So when we are initially launching, okay, so we have a two-step process for growth. One is that existing budget hotels in good locations, for the lack of the size of the hotel, or they're not able to attract the correct manpower, so therefore they're not able to attract the right guests, etc. We want to actually take in the first phase of expansion, we want to take on 400-500 keys within the first year, refurbish the hotel, carbon neutralize it, upgrade it to our standards. So we are not actually generating any further footprint except for changing of some of the interiors and also upgrading the equipment to reduce their power ratings. Yeah. So these are the costs we will incur in terms of environmental to upgrade a hotel. So we expect that our fit out cost is not going to be very different from what any typical if somebody is taking a hotel on lease. So we're going to take hotels on lease, on a long-term lease, on a minimum guarantee and revenue share kind of a model, which will provide a solution to a lot of the smaller hoteliers today who are losing out, especially in a post-COVID scenario where a brand actually gives some sense of semblance of safety. They're losing out business. They're not able to punch beyond the weight, and that there's a solution that we have for the industry. So once we are slightly established in the market, a year and a half, 2 years down the line, we expect that we will be able to get custom-built properties using our EBOT model. So we have within the group, within the Red Ribbon franchise, we have a Modulex, a company in Pune. It's a 40-acre facility where a factory is being built. where we can do a modular construction of a hotel. And I'm really happy about this because we can go up to 24 stories. These are earthquake resistant buildings. They will be insurance ratified buildings as per British standards because we are getting all those standards over here. The best part is we can give within 52 weeks a fully fitted out hotel with lock and key in any part of the world.
Wow.
100%. Okay, and at a fixed cost. The cost varies from based on transportation costs. Our manufacturing cost is fixed, and it's everything is manufactured in a factory on site. So it is of a different cut and finish, and it's definitely a more efficient process as compared to what happens on typical construction sites. So we expect to reduce the carbon footprint of that building itself over there. And Modulex will give me a carbon neutralized building. So we didn't talk about the process of carbon neutralization. We'll talk about that later. So there is also aspect of mitigation. So in my typical eco hotel, I would mitigate the carbon footprint by doing a afforestation program or save the whale or do some, there are a lot of programs which are certified green, and these are done by third parties. So we essentially put funds into those kind of programs to neutralize our whatever guilt or sin of carbon that we commit.
Yes, you need to, yeah,
So
that's what to set off the carbon emission, yeah.
set it off, yeah, we set it off. And eventually we also expect, and we know it's possible, that a lot of our business is going to be corporates, and corporates would like to participate in this program as part of their normal accounting process as per ESG norms, or as part of their CSR, or we give the option to them, to the individual traveler, if they would. So this is educative, right? You know, the airlines give you option of setting your carbon footprint. So we will give you similar option. If you don't do it, we will do it at our cost. That's also inbuilt into our business model.
I see. And so, when you say that you will take hotels on lease, at the stage of building a hotel, do you get in with the owner or the builder or the developer to advise them on what materials to use, which are going to be carbon friendly, which will help to reduce power consumption post construction? Because one of the biggest problems in India we have is glass facades, and I think that's one of the biggest biggest bloomers that anybody can make, because with the heat that is generated in India, glass facades are an absolute no from a power consumption perspective. Now, do you actually get into all this when a building, when hotel is being built, or do you come in later?
So our buildings will come as per green certification norms, which are built by Modulex, and so they have a team of architects and designers, and they would even have a lot of things going into the building in terms of IoT. So we know at every point in time through the life cycle of the building, through blockchain, what happened, what didn't happen, was there leakage. A lot of things will come into those buildings. But yes, definitely when we are consulting in our EBOT model, essentially what we are telling people is that you have a land, and we will get a feasibility done from a third party, good hospitality consulting company. We'll figure out what is the business metrics of the hotel over here. We'll help you form a company with our preferential, dealing with Modulex, since we are helping them with, in the whole setup of the hospitality thing, the design. We will build you a hotel which is definitely much cheaper. So you're asking me the cost of the hotel. So our planned cost for building a hotel is around 34-35 lakhs per key.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah.
And this is you have taken the cost. This is without the cost of the land, I guess. This
is without the cost of the land. This is the cost of the construction.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And do you have an ARR at which this breaks even?
So our break even, so our price point is for the Eco Lodge is around 2,000 rupees, and in a larger city it might be a little more. And for the Eco is depends from 3,000, 3,200 to maybe a city like Mumbai we might punch around 5,000 rupees depending on of course it's seasonal also, the tariff. But our modeling is done around average price of 3,000 and 2,000.
So who would be in terms of your competition? It's Ginger and maybe Ibis or maybe not even that.
See, I honestly, this competition is a question that's usually asked by everybody. If you ask me, I have a slightly different view on the competition. I don't think there is enough competition in India in the branded segment yet. because it will, depending on which report you read, somebody says there are 150,000 branded rooms, somebody says there are 140 or whatever. Now we have, put in context, we have 1.65 billion domestic tourism trips as of 2017 on the IBF website, India Brand Equity Foundation website. Yeah. Now, if you talk about 1.65 domestic trips and let's say only 1/4 of them use hotels, we need a lot more branded hotels. So the entire story of the Indian hospitality is being playing out in the non-branded segment. Yeah. So there is enough and more for everybody, and we should not. And every brand has grown. If you see the last 4-5 years, whether it's Ginger or it's Lemon Tree who come in our segment, or Ibis, or even Courtyard by Marriott, I would say that's the premier end of our segment, or Holiday Inn. These kind of brands have seen the maximum growth. And there is really no competition because the economy is growing, and we are becoming an increasingly service economy, and our transport infrastructure is growing really fast. So travel within the country is booming even further, expected to boom even further.
So coming back, sorry for interrupting, but coming back to the carbon neutrality question, I pulled you away from that because I'm the first guy and that just came to my mind. But in terms of measuring carbon neutrality, how would you, I mean, as an owner, if I was to associate with Eco Hotels and say, okay, you run the hotel, or let's say you brand the hotel and run it for us, or we run it as a franchise, whatever, how would I be able to measure how would I know that I'm carbon neutral at the end of a year or at a period? What's the matrix?
So matrix is very simple. We keep track of all the consumption items that are required. Then we go to a company like the Carbon Neutral Company, or a Climate Partner, or Green Company, Net Zero Company. There are so many companies who certify. And the carbon neutral certification is very popular among larger industry segments. In fact, there is I'm forgetting the name, there's a Norwegian or a Swedish furniture brand which actually tells you the carbon footprint of each of the items of furniture that you're buying.
Oh, okay.
And then they give you the option to offset it also. So it's a very measured, and it is a graded exercise, and which is certified by third party. Most of the your ISO kind of certifying companies, they are in this business as well. So this entire elaborate exercise of calculation happens. Then you know what is your calculation, and then you know what you need to offset. And that offsetting is also done based on certified places where you can do it. Certified activities that are happening, which are again controlled and third-party audited.
So the cost of this offset is already taken into account by you at the beginning of the project. You know that there's a cost that will be incurred for that. Or does that vary? Does it vary, or do you know already in your mind that this is what needs to be done?
Yes, it can vary a little bit, but it will be very within our range. We generally know what that cost is. It also depends. See, for example, in the operating thing, I will not get my ideal. Let's say I have done my costing based on a 21 or 22 or 24 square meter room. Let's say I have 2 or 3 room types. But in reality, I get much larger rooms, or I get much smaller rooms, or the level of F&B is different, or the public area design of the existing hotel is not something I can really retrofit and change. Then these parameters will vary by 10 to 15%. But by and large, it should be within a certain norm, and it can be done quite easily.
So the 30-35 lakh rupees per room cost that we referred to a while back includes the cost of everything. It's a total cost. That includes the cost of the offset also.
In the construction part?
Yes.
So the Modulex will definitely be looking at giving us carbon neutral hotel buildings. Yeah.
So the cost of 30-35 lakhs per room will remain the same, and I don't have to add on capex.
At this moment, I don't want to talk about the cost specifically, because between now and when the hotel might get built, there might be some changes in the world. Currently, the steel price has gone up. As we speak, during the pandemic, last 2 months, steel has really gone up. So these, I would say, are since
broad numbers
that are recorded tend to be same. So I would not like to say that this is going to be the price forever. But yes, if today we were to contract a hotel, yes, we can do it at this price.
Okay, interesting. Okay. So then, tell me, what is if I am a hotel owner, how would I approach you, or how would we work together? Do you operate a hotel like how the big groups like Taj, Oberoi, Marriott, and the Accor of the world do it, or they have a different business model? What's your business model?
See, our business model is that we are going to put our skin in the game. That's what every owner wants. After having all the experience in the hotel industry, what I found is that most of the brands actually don't put any skin in the game. So our model is very simple. I'm taking the entire operational risk. Eco Hotel is taking the entire operational risk of the hotel. So the owner is not bothered with the P&L. They get something from the top line. It's just a reverse of a management contract.
Oh,
Where a brand takes no risk in the hotel, they take something from the top. We do it the other way around. We'll take from the bottom.
and I think you mentioned something of like a minimum guarantee in your introductory
Yeah,
remarks.
it's a minimum guarantee and a revenue share model. So we know that there's a minimum return to the owner, irrespective of whether the hotel is stabilized or it's not making money or not. So we will give a minimum guarantee, and then there is a increased ramped up revenue share.
That minimum guarantee is based on the investment.
The minimum guarantee is not based on the investment. The minimum guarantee is based on viability of the hotel.
Okay.
So if there is something that is not going to make sense, we are not going to take such properties because it has to be feasible, right? So the minimum guarantee is based on, let's say we are targeting a ARR of 3,000 rupees, so it will be based on 3,000. If there is a 2,000 rupee ARR location and hotel, it will be based on that, irrespective of what the real estate size is in that area.
Okay. No, so for again, because I want to the viewers to understand if they are contacting you, what they should expect. If I was to say invest 30-40 lakh rupees per room in a 100-room hotel, so I have an investment of 40 crores. Great. Now, once I do that and then I contract with you and you say, okay, I'll get X percentage of the revenue as my return, that's also fine. But the minimum guarantee that you are talking about will be what? Will be linked. I mean, I'm just trying to get my arms around that. What should I expect?
See, the minimum guarantee is it's a complex topic. It is definitely so it is. There are projections that we make when we sit down with the owners. We will be making projections,
Okay.
and we will kind of agree that this is the size of the business that's
Okay.
viable. Okay, so obviously there is a slightly pessimistic, there's a realistic, there's an optimistic scenario. So the minimum guarantee will be based more on the realistic rather than
On the revenue. Okay. No, I'm trying to understand that. So you will say that, okay, irrespective of what I make, this much revenue is guaranteed, and therefore a percentage of the revenue will get will be so much, whether I do that or not.
And we are, while recognizing fully that whatever business we are doing, even the place, the location, and the goodwill of that location has a big say in the success of a hotel.
Yeah.
So as the time goes on, it's not only our brand, but also because that we are in that particular address, that is also feeding business to us. So the owner's return also increases over a period of time as we stay in the franchise. And the best part is the owner doesn't have to spend on any upkeep or it's a full what you call repair and insurance lease, as it's called, FRI leases abroad. So once the owner gives us the hotel, he doesn't have to do anything in that.
So the entire repairs, renovation that will happen throughout the period of the lease is going to be borne by Eco Hotels. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. And what is the term of the lease that you normally would? How many years?
We are looking at a 30-year term. It can be structured, but we are looking at around 30-year term.
I think that makes sense because most hotels do over 25 plus 10 or.
Yeah.
But I guess only stamp duty issues are there, but that's a different subject, and we should not get.
Yeah, the issues are there, but what happens is that there is a assurance on both sides. In terms of the contract, there is much more solidity to the contract.
Yeah.
Because if you were to do a smaller contract of 5 years, then definitely we would not be able to improve the property or keep it, in a way that we don't know what's going to happen after 5 years. But if we are going to have something for a very long term, then we are going to look at it as our own property. And that's where we'd like owners to recognize the fact that a long-term commitment comes from both sides and is worked out in a very different way.
This is from a owner perspective, again, I think what I would get from Eco Hotels would be the expertise to understand how much carbon footprint is being created by a hotel, the expertise in neutralizing that carbon footprint, and then at very economical prices, and not just going for, I'm in part of the hospitality industry as much as you are, and the only thing you are told is solar laga do, wind laga do. It's a very, one size fits all sort of a thing that is thrown at you. And then you really don't want to do it because you're not very sure what's going to happen. So I think this organized manner in which you are approaching the issue and giving a proper solution is, I think, a very good, attractive thing from a hotelier perspective, from a owner perspective, because then I don't have to run helter skelter and get, some advice from somebody here and somebody there, and then not really know what I'm getting into. So I think this is good. From a expertise perspective, how would you rate? I mean, what would you like to convey to the viewers? What do you bring to the table in terms of carbon neutrality?
See, although our hotel story is about carbon neutrality, end of the day, the expertise is in running the hotels profitably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about creating a brand which appeals to the higher senses of the consumers. I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. Okay. Uh, if you read recently, in UK alone in the past year and a half, and around the world, a lot of universities, the students are very concerned about their carbon footprint. And as students, they really can't do much about it. So the easiest thing that they could do in the world was they realized that red meat, okay, especially beef, has the highest carbon footprint among all the food in the whole food chain.
Mm-hmm.
So the students' unions have decided on their own to make this choice of not consuming that, not having that item on their menu.
Oh,
One of the last ones to join that bandwagon was Oxford University last year.
interesting. Very interesting.
So it started in Edinburgh. So there's just 6 universities. So these are consumer-led movements, I would say. So we have to understand that today, in the beginning, earlier part of our conversation, you said, a Marwadi or a Gujarati, he thinks they are additional cost, etc. First, the carbon tax is coming. That time it will not be a cost. That time you'll wish you had done this.
Okay. That's a good point you make, because I think a carbon tax, which is not yet there in India, is bound to come sooner or later, I guess, right?
As much as we don't wish for it, but all the governments around the world, they are always looking at ways to create revenues for themselves, right? So whether so one way or the other, some tax will come either at the level of the municipality or at the level of corporate tax or whatever way it will come, because
Already,
already
you know where these taxes are already applicable, which country?
the discussions are happening at the level of the climate control movement.
Yes.
Now it's a global thing. When you have the climate accords. So if you see now in some of the listed exchanges in the world, it is compulsory for the listed companies to actually list their companies' carbon neutrality endeavors.
Yes.
Morgan Stanley actually tracks companies based on a carbon index, right? So these are what you can say that looking at the tea leaves in the future, what's going to happen. So why is all this infrastructure being put in place and so much education directly or indirectly being done? It's like we know that this matters. Secondly, I attended one conference on carbon neutrality in UK. It was actually a Morgan Stanley conference. And there were some studies presented by some professors where they said there's just the whole thought process of a company's ethos to be aware of your carbon footprint actually impacts the thinking of the employees, and it makes them more careful about overall expenses.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I think that's very, very interesting, because the new generation that's coming, and I have no compunction in saying that my generation is completely oblivious to the carbon emissions. We don't really care about it, and I think that's not right at all. But a new generation that's coming up and that's so aware what's happening, and we can see from what's happened in the UN and in the past few years, young kids really making a big impression on
I'll
politics.
give you another example. Recently, last I think October, November, sometime latter part of last year. I don't remember the exact date. Infosys became a carbon neutral company.
Really? Okay, I didn't follow that.
They
Okay.
had a stated goal to do it by 2021. They did it last year. So for them, it was quite simple. They don't have the main consumption is electricity, power, computers and all they consume. Office equipment consumes a lot of power and servers and etc. So they just went downstream. They bought a solar power company and they offset the entire carbon footprint just like that.
Yes, I think, and these are trendsetters, and I think people follow examples like these. They really inspire the people to follow them, and I think that's why they are where they are, and that's why they are who they are. From a Indian perspective, and I don't mean to put you into a corner. If you want to answer the question, say no. You don't need to respond. But what's been your experience with Indian promoters? I know you have been working on this for some time now, and as the CEO of the organization and the India focus. The whole burden on performing is entirely on your strong shoulders. What's been your experience with Indian entrepreneurs the last? I'm sure COVID would have been a break in the whole journey, but prior to that and now that things are opening up a bit, what's been your experience with Indian businessmen?
So by and large, they're very encouraging. They're very encouraging of our concept, and they quite like it that such a concept is coming into India, is being launched in India, and is starting its global journey from India. So there are a lot of people who are interested in knowing. But naturally, there is some they would like to be the second mover or the third mover, not the first mover. So that's the thing. But had this whole COVID thing not impacted travel the way it has, I'm very confident that we would have managed to actually move forward.
And how long do you see this COVID impact affecting your plans in particular? I know the industry is struggling, and I mean, I don't want to sound negative and depressing on the conversation, but it's really bad. We all know that. I think has it pushed you back by a couple of years? Say?
It definitely has impacted us. It has pushed us back by a few months for sure. So the way I look at this COVID impact, the reality is that even through COVID, at least hotels in Mumbai, Goa, and certain other places, they had fairly decent occupancies.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, 55% was sort of the norm in the good hotels in Mumbai. Okay.
True.
Yeah, the rates have been hit, no doubt. But I can tell you that I've been tracking the market in my segment and my price points. My price point is still available in the market. There's business available. You can just go and pick it up. But
Yes.
but yeah, it's not about that. But the thing is that now with the vaccine happening and aggressively we are vaccinating whatever 30, 40 lakh people every day, whatever number, 25 lakh. I think by end of July or latest by end of September, most of the working population uh, would be vaccinated, at least with their first shot. And the demand is only compressed, artificially compressed because of barriers to travel and fear of
Yes.
infection. I know that all of us are fatigued. We all want to get out. I mean, especially living in a city like Mumbai, it's no fun here. We live in very small places. So
Yes.
everybody wants to get out. Every other day. The thing is that this morning I was talking to my brother, and he says, once the vaccination is done, I got my first shot, second one. We are all going to Kashmir or whatever. I said, but then, but this is not the time to do it. He said, yeah, yeah. So every day we plan, and then we say, okay, let's postpone it. If the second wave hadn't happened in Mumbai, me and my family had already actually booked a staycation in a good hotel in Mumbai, and the condition was if they are letting the pool open, we were just going to vacation for 1 week in Mumbai itself, the good hotel that we always wanted to go because it is so affordable now.
Yes.
Go there,
The
Which,
areas are very
uh,
much
so,
down. Yeah.
but then the second,
Go ahead.
yeah, so the second wave hit and we just postponed it. So I know n number of people like me who want to do this, and I also know a lot of people who have traveled through COVID out of compulsion, and some people just because they could actually work from Goa, so they booked a service apartment or a budget hotel or whatever, and they opted to work from Goa because it gave them a lot of openness, walking, this that. So all kinds of things will happen. So it's sort of led to what's called the nomadic lifestyle in a way. Not for everybody, but for a few people, yes, who can do
So,
it.
last question, and maybe bringing back numbers into the discussion. Uh, you think I'm not very sure. I know there are subsidies available for solar installations, and the government gives you some rooftops in India, and it's a little, I think, a little unorganized, or a little, it's not coming together. That's my opinion. I may be wrong. But worldwide, do you see a trend where carbon neutrality would also lead to support from government, financial support, incentives that would make me do that?
I'll give you a small example. My interior decorators are two very young, brilliant, bright girls from UK. Okay, and while they were designing the interiors and working out, so they're working on the aspect of design and the carbon footprint in the some materials and how do we make a low impact building. So just like that, out of fun, I told them, have you explored becoming having a carbon neutral lifestyle yourself? Saying, what do you mean? I said the easiest thing you can in UK, even as a domestic consumer, you can buy off-grid power, green power. And they said, okay, let's look at it. And they sent me a WhatsApp same day saying, we already switched our power and we're going to save 20%.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, so in their county or whatever, wherever they live in UK, so there is an option to opt for a green power, which is, renewable sources. So they opted for wind power or something, I don't know.
And they drop their cost, and they drop their expenditure.
And they feel so happy about it. And so people are able to make those choices today.
So it does impact your bottom line. It does not. One should not look on carbon neutrality as something that adds to your expenditure. On the contrary, it can actually reduce your expenditure because that's where the world is moving now.
So yes, in terms of expenditure, it brings it down. There might be some additional investments you might have to make in, say, movement sensors and stuff like that, but they tend to pay for themselves within 15 to 18 months, not much more than that. Unless you build a super efficient hotel with even lower electrical consumption, then it might take you to 2.5 years, but still it's worth doing. Because we know one thing, that nowhere ever the power cost has come down. It keeps going up. It keeps inflating.
Oh, it's terrible. I can tell you from experience, it can actually, it can throw your P&L out of gear completely.
Absolutely.
So I think, yeah, so I think the message that comes from you very clearly, and I think that's very important, is that being carbon neutral is more a question of being aware, more of a question of being knowledgeable. It's more a question of having things in place rather than spending a lot of money, which is where the psychological perspective is today. And I think that's very important from an awareness perspective. I'm very glad we're in this conversation because we typically send this out to a lot of industry people who are interested. And I do hope that people watch this and reach out to you and people of your other people like you who can help hotels to become carbon neutral. And I will definitely reach out to you because we are working on a couple of projects which are coming up, and I think we can do some good work together. So, any last words, Abhijit, that you'd like to share? Any thoughts that you think the viewers would enjoy listening?
My main motivation is that in my life, I always wanted to be associated with things that go beyond the regular thing. Like while we do something, so while marrying purpose with livelihood has always been one of my aims in life. And what I discovered is that it's actually quite easy to do. It's not that tough. It's actually fun also.
Mm.
So all of us, we don't have to. So what I noticed is that this whole climate issue is so big. It's been made so big that everybody thinks it's United Nations or America or whatever the big countries have to come and solve it. While a lot of it might be true, but we can also take a lot of conscious effort in our day-to-day life and impact. So I always believe, there's a saying, key opposite. So there was a poem by Ramdhari Singh Dinkar. I don't remember the name, but it goes something like एक अकेला चना क्या भाड़ फोड़ेगा. So actually एक अकेला चना ही भाड़ फोड़ता है because I am a world to myself. If I can impact the life around me, that's around me, me and my family, I think my job in this world is done. I don't have to be a evangelist for environment or anything like that. I do it in my life. I do it in my business. I do it with my team. I think that is enough for each of us to do.
And I think uh, those are really pearls of wisdom. And we don't call this series the CEO Alchemist for nothing. It's because of people like you who create magic. Alchemists are magicians, and I think it's your generation, and I say yours and distinct from mine because I'm ancient now. But I think it's your generation that's making a big difference, and we love to bring these stories out in the public domain. From my best wishes to you, keep on doing your magic. I'm sure Eco Hotels will be a name to reckon with very, very soon, and I would love to be a part of the journey with you, as I'm sure a lot of viewers who are watching this video would love to associate with. Keep on doing your magic, keep on smiling.
Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you for this opportunity and all the best. And your venture of a DGCEO is really required because the amount of small businesses, everybody in India is an entrepreneur today,
Yes.
and they really don't realize till late in life that if they don't start with the proper structure
Yeah.
in their business, it's quite costly later on.
Yeah, it becomes costly later.
It
Thank you
becomes
for your words of encouragement. We really appreciate that. And we will chat some more in another on another topic because there are so many things to talk about when we talk about the ecosystem and about the carbon neutrality and about environment. So keep smiling. All the best. Keep healthy. Keep safe.
Thank you. Keep healthy.
Thank you. Bye bye.